Okay,
There we go.
we are live.
Great.
Hey,
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to Park Right Here podcast with Katrina and Mr.
Tom.
Tom. And we have a wonderful guest today with us, Amy Becker from the Michael J. Fox Foundation. And she is going to explain her position as the Director of Advocacy and what that means and what she does. Go ahead, Amy.
Of course. Thanks, Katrina. And thanks, Tom. Thank you so much for having me. I just also want to do a shout out to the name of this stream because I love wordplay and Park Right Here is really, really great. So kudos on that. But yeah, my name's Amy Becker and I'm the Director of Advocacy at the Michael J. Fox Foundation. I've actually only been here since July. And as Tom knows, my line is that I can say carbidopa, levodopa, and that's pretty much it. But fortunately, where I lack in pronouncing medical jargon, I make up for in grassroots advocacy. And what I get to focus on, I probably have one of the best jobs at the foundation. I get to talk to people in the Parkinson's community and connect them with opportunities to engage with key decision makers so we can encourage them to keep the Parkinson's community front of mind when they're looking at policies, bills, legislation, news that could impact the Parkinson's community. We all know, especially with advocacy, whether it's patient advocacy, advocating for yourself with your care partner, that when we can put a face to Parkinson's, that's when we can really make a positive difference. We say at the foundation, you know, you've met one person with Parkinson's, you've met one person with Parkinson's. So I really want to focus on educating people on how they can get involved with their elected officials, with key government officials, so they can share their Parkinson's experience. And so legislators can know what's impacting the Parkinson's community in their district and in their community and available solutions so we can do something about it. You know, choose your analogy of if you're not at the table, you're on the menu, closed mouths don't get fed, squeaky wheels. We want to be a community
like
of squeaky, right? You can choose whichever
You're
one you
not
want.
if you're not on the. So if you're not on the menu, you're on the table.
Let's hope not. If you're not at the table, you're on the menu. That is an old euphemism, but so we want to make sure we're at that table. We want to make sure that we're the front of their minds because we do know that elected officials, no matter what you read in the news, they do have a lot of power to impact our daily lives and the ability to have a positive impact on people currently living with Parkinson's and people who may be diagnosed tomorrow, as well as their family members and care partners. So you can tell that I work in politics because I'm a filibusterer. So I'll leave it there and turn it back to Tom and Katrina. I'm just so excited to be here.
Well, you know, I like the whole thing. One of the things I tell people is you have to advocate for yourself. And by extension, that means advocating on behalf of Parkinson's. And I like to keep things simple and make connections. So I call it the George Costanza theory. Everyone knows George Costanza. And just ask yourself, like, for example, if George had Parkinson's and he had a chance to talk to his congressperson, George would do it. You know, and if George would do something, then you know it, then you should do it. It's kind of like a barometer of, you know, how to manage yourself. If you're not quite sure, ask yourself, what would George do? And then follow George's. And George isn't going to sit back and let Parkinson's affect him. He's going to do something about it.
And that's one thing. I even preach that to my 17-year-old daughter. And she even takes it to the extreme sometimes where she'll question doctors and, you know, she'll, you know, which is a good thing. Because I still don't know how I got Parkinson's. I don't have the genetic markers, but I grew up in the military. And now it's, I read an article recently about Agent Orange. They're even looking at second and third generation, you know, dependents getting Parkinson's because, you know, Agent Orange was one of the Parkinson's is one of Agent Orange markers. And of course, my mom didn't want me to tell my dad that at all. You know, he didn't, you know, or there's a foam that the Air Force used that had some kind of specific chemical in it to put out jet fuel fires. And I could have been exposed to that, you know, in the groundwater. And even the groundwater at the military base, the last military base I was at, and as a teenager, is their groundwater is still contaminated. And the base shut down in the 90s. And so Lord only knows, what we are all exposed to now. But yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it sounds like a great job.
And I think that's a huge thing that we want to talk about, Katrina, is that people don't know what they don't know.
Yep.
Right.
And lawmakers and their staff are dealing with a lot of different issues, and it's on us to educate them on what we're going through and what, challenge those misconceptions about Parkinson's, that not every patient looks like Michael J. Fox or Muhammad Ali or somebody that that there's a lot of different things that are going on, and there's a lot of unknowns. So it's on us to share that. And I know a lot of people can get exasperated with politics or can feel that it doesn't make a difference, and know that, there are people who are going to their legislative offices to ask for things. So if not us, who, right? We need to be there to share our stories. I came to the Fox Foundation from the Boys and Girls Clubs, where if you ever get overwhelmed with how things are going, just talk to somebody in high school, because those kids are so engaged. Like, it just will fill your jaded, icy heart with warmth. But they look at politics as very scary. It's scary to go and talk to your lawmaker. They have a blue check by their Twitter handle. They have a fancy desk and all of this. But know that you're the most important person that they're going to talk to, because you're a voter in their district or in their state, and you're bringing them an issue that they can do something around. And to think about advocacy, don't think about it as this unattainable thing. We all advocate. Just think about the last time you went on a group dinner and we're trying to decide where to eat. We all advocate, I want Chinese food, I want cheeseburger, I want this. You're advocating. Yeah, Tom's going to advocate for that. But we advocate for what we want. And it should be the same with policies around Parkinson's that can really make a difference. So just to remove that.
You mentioned how you put people together with their congressional, and I've done this. I'm unfortunate enough to do it 3 times now that I've had a chance to talk to our Congresswoman's staff. And the one thing I did the last time I did, not the second time I did, is we were going to tell them our story. I said, well, my story is not that much different than everyone else's story, but I said, here's what I want. I don't know if you can see this. That is the X-ray of someone who had DBS. That's their skull. Mm-hmm. And you can see on the top, you see some wires, and then you can almost see the leads going into their brain. Mm-hmm. So I said, I want to send you this picture, because what I want you to do is when you go to a congressperson who's not on board, show them the picture. And just say, you want to know what Parkinson's is? This is Parkinson's. This is Parkinson's, but I think this says more than this. Mm-hmm. And they all say something, but it's a matter of degree. And, you got to get loud to a certain extent, because as you mentioned, congressmen have so many things going on that sometimes I think it is the squeaky wheel that gets the grease.
Absolutely. And we always see when we've been doing these meetings like Tom has done, that you go into that meeting with a staff or a legislator, that it's almost like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, 6 degrees of Parkinson's, that somebody always seems to have a connection to someone in their life who has Parkinson's, has an essential tremor, something like that. Like, we hear it time and time again that they have these connections, but they don't know a lot about it. They don't know the lack of tests. They don't know that not everybody gets tremors. They don't know about DBS. So to share a story and to have them have that connection, it kind of opens up their heart, especially. They empathize, but then it opens up their mind and their hands to take action and learn more.
Yeah.
I got to tell you my Parkinson's congressman joke then. So congressman and his aide are going to Congress, are going to a support group meeting because they're not in favor of additional funding, but this is a large group of their constituents, so they feel like they have to go. They're a little bit nervous, so they get to the door. They open it. Congressman looks in and says to the staffer, I think it's okay. They're all waving to us.
That's a good one.
See, I was told by Mason that I couldn't do that.
That sounds like Mason. Thankfully, there's a Mason in each meeting that can step in and keep people from their basic desires.
It's funny, there's a special connection I think I have with your foundation, Michael J. Fox in particular, I should say, is the day I got officially diagnosed with Parkinson's. I went home feeling kind of crappy. I put on TV Land and I see an Archie Bunker episode. And, Archie makes you laugh. There was another Archie Bunker episode. And then after that, I swear to you, the theme song, The Family Ties, started playing. And that's the last thing I wanted to hear. And I look up at the ceiling and I said, this ain't nothing funny. It's like, I feel like the universe just, gave me Parkinson's and then slapped me down.
Yeah. The universe has a weird sense of humor.
But doing things like this, I think with people with Parkinson's, it gives you a sense of value, a sense of purpose. So not only should you advocate because it's the right thing to do, but it gives you, I think, a sense of who you are, because Parkinson's kind of strips that all away from you. You have to revisit who you are when you have Parkinson's. You know, I'm no longer, in a sense, I'm not the man of the house anymore. Oh, I never was, by the way. But in my head, I thought I was a man in the house. And, you know, those whole things change when you have to start leaning on other people to do what you can no longer do.
Yeah.
And this is really cool that we had you on today, because this is the one part of Parkinson's I haven't gotten involved with yet. My husband retired from the military, and I grew up in the military. And so politics has always been talked about and everything. And we retired here to Southwest Virginia. So I went from having every resource known to man, because we were in Colorado Springs, to the Appalachian part of Southwest Virginia, having no resources. I have to drive 4 hours for treatment because I had DBS in 2021. And because I've had Parkinson's, I have young onset, so I don't tremor. I have dyskinesia, if you couldn't tell. But I have the Brady, heaviness and slowness on my right side. And I've had Parkinson's for 13 years. I'm going on 13, but I'm still independent. Don't need any assistance. I actually saw my movement disorder specialist on Monday and got a clean, still no dementia. No, my memory's still good. And he just tweaked my meds a little bit and tweaked my DBS. So hopefully that within, a couple days, that'll all settle out. But getting into the, knowing who my Congress people are, and knowing, in this region that I'm going to be, this is my forever home. My grandmother left me her house, and this is where I've always wanted to live, in Southwest Virginia. And now I want to, be more of an advocate and a voice while I still have one. And, I was a nurse for almost 20 years. So, and it's a way of me giving back. So having you on is really a blessing to me. So,
thank you, Katrina. And you actually brought up a few things that I did want to point out of the importance of advocating to make sure the needs of people who live in rural areas are different than the needs of people who live in urban areas. We deal with access to care issues. You were talking about, access to a movement disorder specialist. It's important that we paint that picture for our lawmakers so they know the allocation of resources and the lack of access, and how different communities, what their needs are. But then also pointing out the accessibility of advocacy. I think we can all agree the pandemic was awful, but the one good thing that came out of it was stuff like this, that we can all talk to each other, Katrina in Southwest Virginia, Tom in Delaware, me in Washington, D.C. And we can also meet from the comfort of our own living rooms with our lawmakers. Tom met with his Congresswoman staff via Microsoft Teams. And we can set those things up so it's accessible, but also knowing that there are district offices that you can reach out to. You can literally reach out to your member of Congress's or state lawmaker's district office and say, I'm a constituent. I'd like to schedule a meeting to talk about this, or going to a town hall or an event. They do this to interact with constituents and to hear your concerns. I know it may feel that legislators don't care about constituent voices until it's an election year, but it's still important that we go to those things and make our voices heard and share our stories and our concerns. And there are these accessible ways for you to get involved in your own community. It doesn't have to all be in the halls of Washington, D.C. It's happening in your own backyard.
Yeah, I did speak with the CEO of the hospital here, because they don't even have a neurologist he retired. The one they did have retired, and they just have a difficult time finding somebody who wants to be this rural. To put it this way, if my daughter wants to go to Five Below, Target, anything like that, we have to drive at least an hour. So we do have a Walmart about 10 minutes from here, but and a Dollar Tree. and of course,
what else do you need? You got a Dollar Tree.
And of course, Dollar Generals are all over the place. But to see a good movie, you have to go an hour. So we're at, like kind of between Bluefield and Bristol in that little skinny part of the mountains. And it's beautiful, it's quiet, but the resources are, I mean, and I can tell you from being, near the city, having everything, and I'm having like trying to get through even to like owners and business, like of the YMCA, the owner, the guy who is in charge of the exercise groups is really, really nice, but the owner is very much, if he doesn't see financial reasons for the starting a peddling for Parkinson's or a class like that, I have to show him how many people will go and all of that, and I have to it's just like beating your head against the wall.
Sometimes you can't put a number on being a humanitarian. I wonder, Congresswoman Rexton, I believe her name was, from Virginia, who was diagnosed with Parkinson's and subsequently diagnosed with a different atypical Parkinson's. Have you noticed any more availability or anything more at the congressional level where they're more open because now one of their members has atypical Parkinson's?
I will say Congresswoman Wexton from Virginia, Katrina, has been an amazing champion for the Parkinson's community. She was diagnosed with what she calls Parkinson's on steroids, with PSP. And she has just been such an amazing advocate in raising her voice. And it is true that when a colleague is afflicted with something, we did see the National Plan to End Parkinson's Act pass the House, and she was definitely a champion for that. Our two House sponsors, New York Congressman Paul Tonko, as well as Florida Congressman Gus Bilirakis, the National Plan to End Parkinson's Act now shares a name of Congressman Bilirakis's father, and I believe uncle or brother, who were also diagnosed with Parkinson's. So they see a colleague, but as I noted before, so many people have a connection to Parkinson's. Michigan Senator Debbie Stabenow, her grandmother had Parkinson's, so she has a connection, and has been a major champion for this and has advocated her colleagues. So we have advocates in Congress doing these things. Right. But I think especially seeing Congresswoman Wexton being public with her diagnosis and also championing these bills, I think it definitely did help. It always helps to have a champion in a legislative body who's going to take your issue and push it through and advocate for it. And she's just been such a tireless champion to tell her story, talk about her experience, and also urge her colleagues to support what she's going through. So it absolutely did help, and big kudos to her for using her platform for this.
Definitely.
So let's say that I'm watching this podcast and I was diagnosed 6 months ago, and I love what you're saying. How do I get involved? Who do I reach out to?
Love that, Tom. Your check is in the mail for asking that question. We actually have.
Do I get a 1099 with that?
No, let's not bring the IRS into this.
Okay.
I will share. Can I share a link in the chat, or I can share it with you all afterwards, and you can put it on the page. But we do have at the Fox Foundation our own advocacy network called the Parkinson's Policy Network, where all you need to do is take a minute to sign up with your name, your address, and your email, and you will be put into our listserv to get action alert emails of when your voice is most needed at the congressional, but also at the state level, as well as informational emails and breaking news of when policies are moving around Parkinson's. So you all may have seen, the ongoing potential proposed EPA bans of paraquat and TCE. We send those out to that network so we can connect you with these opportunities, either through sending a digital letter to your congressional office, being connected via phone to your congressional office, doing op-eds, letters to the editor, as well as being considered to participate in the way that Tom did in meetings directly with your member of Congress or state lawmaker's office. So I can share that link, and that will put you in that network, and you'll get those opportunities, because we want to be a tidal wave of change, not a drop in the bucket. And we're only as powerful as the number of people we have and how loud we can get.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there a way to data
what was
mine
the
that
name
information?
What was the name of the group again?
Yes, the name of it is the Parkinson's Policy Network, and I can put the link in the chat. What was your question, Tom?
So I know, is there any way to determine the number of people who actually clicked through and sent something to their congressperson?
Absolutely. Absolutely, there
cool.
is. We can actually, yeah, you would love this. I have data that would just make your geek mind blow. We can see when people take action, which links they click on, which issues are most important to people. The national plan, of course, has garnered our most interactive interactions with our grassroots. And you have close to around nearly 90,000 people who are part of this network who care about Parkinson's policies and are members of the Parkinson's community, adding their voices to petitions, sharing their stories, because as we've noted, it's putting a face to this and sharing the real human experience. So we can, it's called Head, Heart, Hands, where you get the heart to feel, get the head to think, which drive the hands to act. And so this is the importance of being a part of a network like this, because we want to make sure our community is informed, but then they also have those opportunities to engage with us when it means the most. If we're just the guy yelling on the street corner every single day, you're going to start to zone him out. But one day he's not there, and the next week he's back, you're back listening. Right. So we want to make it so it's actually important and strategic of when we're weighing in, when we can get the most bang for our buck and make sure that our voices are heard. And especially going into, not sure if people knew, but it's an election year yet again, we're going to have a lot more opportunities for advocates to engage with their sitting and hopeful elected representatives. We're actually at the Fox Foundation are going to be releasing a Get Out the Vote, a GOTV for PD toolkit, which is going to provide you with ways that you can engage electorally in your community and to educate candidates about Parkinson's and encourage them to support certain issues that impact the Parkinson's community. Just another way of making our voices heard, making sure people are candidates and elected officials are educated about Parkinson's so that when we need to engage with them, they can remember.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great timing because, in April, it's Parkinson's Awareness Month.
Mm-hmm.
And what better time to try to start, if you're not an advocate, what better time is there to jump on the bandwagon? And just, especially with April.
Exactly.
I do clinical studies as well. And I see it as another way of advocating, both for myself, but as the information that they gather. And I find, I was doing one with a drug manufacturer, and he didn't tell me what the actual prescription was, but he made the comment that if I can give you something that reduces your off time and give you better quality of life, would you be interested? And I stop right now. That's a stupid question. Only an idiot would say no to that question. So instead of asking me a question that you want the answer to, because this is just marketing, why don't we have a conversation on what I need and why would I take this drug and when would I take this drug? And to a certain extent, I think that's advocating just as much as, talking to a congressperson.
Absolutely. Like I said, there's so many different ways that we as a community need to advocate for ourselves. And that's not just with elected officials and decision makers, but that's also through providers, pharmaceutical providers, even people in our own community to know what we're going through. Like advocacy has a lot of reverberations and impact in a lot of different groups. And also the importance of different advocate audiences. It's not just the Parkinson's community, it's our care partners, right? It's our family members. It's the medical community as well, being a part of this advocacy for things that are happening on. It's our researchers. It's also donors, corporate partners, people who are connected to this. We can all be advocating for different aspects of positive impacts for the Parkinson's community.
Yeah.
As Katrina and I are both ambassadors with Davis Finney. And sometimes when people ask me, like, what's the difference? I say, well, here's how I see it. At Davis Finney, we want to help you live the best life you can. At the Fox Foundation, they're trying to put us out of business because they're doing the research to stop Parkinson's. And when that happens, they put us out of business. And thank God that, we look forward to that day where they can do that.
Yep. And
go ahead, Katrina.
It's like they work together, and, some people, think, it one or the other. And, I remember talking to Davis Finney about it, and he said he just saw the gap where people needed to know what Parkinson's was, because I remember I used to say it was a complicated disease, but I try not to complicate it so much because it's so individualized. Like, Parkinson's is like a snowflake. No two people have the same symptoms. So it's really your own Parkinson's journey and your own, day to day. And, but you've got Parkinson's Foundation. You have the ADPA, which is very good with support groups, which is a very good, like we say, when you first get diagnosed, there's 5 things you definitely need. And that's a good MDS, movement disorder specialist, that and you need a support group. Find a support group. And because I realized that when I came out here, there was nothing. I went from having the largest support group one of the largest in the country, to now I'm starting. Finally, we're going to start it in April, Parkinson's Awareness Month, and people are coming from all the counties around us. I opened it up, but here in Appalachia, I had to realize that not everybody's on the internet, not everybody's tech savvy. I had to do the footwork. I had to put up flyers at the IGA and put up flyers at the libraries and, at the post offices and, the
old school.
Go to farmers markets and flea markets and the antique stores and, where the people, and I even went to a animal auction where people are, where the people are. And that's where I found people. And, and if you get that mindset as to, where your community is, that really, really, really helps. I'm sorry, I'm having some dyskinesia.
Oh, no, you're good.
A little bit. I need to turn down my DBS.
When you mention support groups, I mean, there is also a chance to advocate within the support group, because you may have 20 or 30 people, and I'm willing to bet the majority of them don't know about the ARDS Foundation, your foundation. They don't know about PPMI. And it's a good opportunity just to get that information to them as well. It's like cascading effect. I tell you, you tell 2 people, they tell 2 people, and before you know it, the whole world should know. There was an old movie in the 70s called Network with Howard Beale. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah.
So I want the first day of April 1st, I want everyone to stick their head out the window and say, I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take this anymore. And, make it like a call to arms. And I find that, little things like that, you can better associate, like tell them the Howard Beale thing. And hopefully that will get, I need to stick my head out the window like Howard did and just yell at I'm not going to take this anymore.
And that's the importance of, that's why I opened with saying, if you're not at that table, right? Like we all need to raise our voices together and be loud, because we constantly see that the loudest voices in the room get the most attention, no matter if those are informed loud voices. So that's why it's important for us to take these meetings, reach out to our elected officials, thought leaders, influencers. Really, it's not just elected officials. Looking at your own networks in your hometown, who are the business leaders, who are the big people in your network, to educate them on Parkinson's and what they can be doing, so we can have all of these circles of influence who are informed and educated and charged and mad as hell and not going to take it anymore, and who are going to advocate with us and get things done, because that's what it's going to take.
Yeah.
It's always going to take a groundswell of support to get these things through.
Well, what I'm going to do is for the 30 days of April, every day I'm going to do a posting with someone famous with Parkinson's, and hopefully by the end of April they'll know, like Muhammad Ali, Alan Alda, Janet Reno. Each day I want to put a very gosh, here comes a tangent. By the way, I was thinking of that.
That's
I
only
did a
the
posting once. I did a Michael J. Fox clip from when he was Teen Werewolf, and my post was, one of the leading indicators that you'll have Parkinson's if you were a teenage werewolf. And some
100%.
people laughed. Some people said it was insensitive. I'm like, that's not insensitive. It's making a point by taking something. And I'm sure if Michael J. Fox read it, he would not be offended.
And I mean, do it entire Curb Your Enthusiasm episode. Like, it's, if we can't laugh, what can't we?
Where he shakes the soda.
With the bottle.
I love that because he just goes
Parkinson's. And that's about, I mean, Richard Lewis just passed away, who had Parkinson's, who was hilarious and amazing. And I didn't know he had Parkinson's until recently, but that's why I'm saying there's so many connections. Sorry?
Who was that just passed?
Richard Lewis. He was also, he's a comedian. He
was Richard Lewis. Yeah, the comedian.
Yes. He was on Curb and so many things. So great. Jon Stewart's doppelganger, but he's so funny. And he actually recently passed, and he had Parkinson's. Billy Connolly, if you like Scottish comedy, he also announced.
I love him.
He announced a couple of months ago. I mean,
I know him.
We say this all the time, though. Parkinson's doesn't discriminate, right? It doesn't discriminate race, creed, geographic location, and certainly not income status. So it's something to point out.
Yeah, I wish more of the celebrities would, speak out.
It's almost to one point. I understand counterintuitive, but when a famous person comes out with Parkinson, I'm a little bit happy, because to me that means there's more it takes a bigger stage. And I know that's probably not the reason to be happy, but in one respect, it makes for a bigger stage.
There is something to be said about that, of having those influencers who are advocating for your cause. There's a whole strategy behind it. It's influencer advocacy, and how you're bringing people in who have those platforms, have the attention, so they can use their platforms for good to educate more people. I mean, it's just like, Taylor Swift was able through one Instagram post to get 1 million people to register to vote. Like, they have major platforms that can make a lot of difference. And we do have great spokespeople. Besides, the famous ones, we have people like the both of you, though, who are in the community sharing your story, doing things like this, and showing people what Parkinson's is, what it isn't, and what they can do. So that's just as important.
And it's like just getting the word out, because I have to give credit to my son Jonathan, my millennial, for the name. I always have to. He says, remind everybody it was my idea. And I started it by myself, audio only, because during the pandemic, because people that were getting newly diagnosed or having symptoms of were scared. We're so scared. And there was so much misinformation coming out on Facebook. And so I pretty much was reading Every Victory Counts, the Davis Finney book. I was pretty much reading out, this is what you can expect. And then also weaving my story in and out, and my experience. And I had about 5 episodes. And then, what is it, about 6 months ago now? Or about the time I became an ambassador, actually the only ambassador for the state of Virginia. Whew. And I asked them, I don't want to do this by myself this time. I'd like to do video. And I asked Everett who would be a good fit with me. And that's how I met Tom.
And I routinely call Ever and said, "What did I ever do to offend you that you gave me to Katrina?"
Well, I would say, Katrina, how'd she get involved in this character?
Yeah. Well, he has to put up.
She's the straight guy. I'm the color.
She's the straight man. I was just going to ask if, like, who's the Abbott, who's the Costello?
Yep.
Well, from my perspective, I think I find humor in almost everything in life, and if I can find that, make that connection to humor, and if it can help you laugh, I mean, it may not, but when you're laughing for a couple minutes, for whether it's cancer, Parkinson's, whatever, for a moment there, you're just not that person. You're having a good chuckle.
Mm-hmm.
And he does.
For me, I find interesting things in life where separately they may not connect, but when you can put them together and make that connection, and it's a funny connection. I'll give you one real fast. What's the difference between the barista at Starbucks and someone at Dunkin' Donuts that serves you a cup of coffee?
What, Tom? What is
barista has a master's degree in art history and $150,000 in student debt. Guess that one didn't go over too well. Amy, I think you're frozen on my end.
I on my end as well. Oh, should I take her off and?
Well, there you go. You're back.
There you go.
Sorry I don't know what just happened. I lost everyone.
Frozen for a while.
No, you were frozen by his joke.
Yeah, there we go. I didn't even get the punchline. It was that good.
Yeah, my joke just caused the world to stop. Well, usually when sometimes I tell a joke that I start counting myself 1 1,000, 2 1,000, just to see how long it takes to fit in.
And it was the leadership conference was in Minneapolis this past September, and I got to bring my daughter with me, and that was really cool. But she was like 5 when I got diagnosed, and it's almost like, well, I've always felt like I've had both of my children are like 2 only children, like they're 2 only childs, if that makes any sense, because my son was 13 when his sister was born. And, I have a millennial and a Zoomer, like, Lord help me. And, but I got to take my daughter and we lost her.
You lost her.
Oh, must be something on her end. Because
Ooh, well,
okay.
We'll give her a few minutes, hopefully, to get back on. I know she's got a 4 o'clock hard cutoff, so it may be, or 3 o'clock hard cutoff. Okay. But, the whole gist of why we wanted to bring her on here is what we say, your voice. Oh, here she comes.
For the past 2 days, and it was being good today. I thought I was good, so I'm just going to use my phone as a hotspot.
Understand. I got to bring my teenager.
Oh, okay.
My Zoomer.
Oh my God, there's your kitchen.
Yeah, now you can see. Now you can see what I was hiding with that mansion. Now you get to see my fridge.
And I didn't realize she had never seen anyone else with Parkinson's. And she goes, why does everybody have the same look on their face? And it's the mask like face or the apathy, and I explained that to her, and she was definitely the youngest one in the room, but she met people that were.
I seem to be having some technical issues too.
Oh, you're having some now?
Yeah, I'm going to try to get up. I'm buffering. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Oh, the tech is just wanting to take an early day.
I can't even leave the store.
Okay. That's what just happened to me. It wouldn't even let me leave. It was so strange.
But it connected my daughter and me in a way I didn't expect. She went to the Mall of America with a girl who was about 25, who was her mother's caregiver, and her mother had only had it for had been diagnosed for 3 years. Because there's always the date the symptoms started and the day you're diagnosed. Sometimes that can be like a gap, a huge gap. But she was much farther along than I was and had to stop and rest often. She had to help her mother to the bathroom and all of this. And Erica really liked Tom. Thought he was like the funniest thing.
There you go. Everybody likes Tom. I'm just a gift.
One endorsement
from a 16-year-old.
Better than nothing.
That's true.
From a very sheltered 16-year-old. But she said that she's going to stop focusing on what I can't do and start focusing on what I can do.
It's a great way to reframe it.
That she is very proud of me for fighting as long as I have, and for, because she sees me struggle to get up in the morning, and do my dance or to do my yoga when I, don't feel like it. And she said I was her inspiration. So now some days I'm not.
Does anybody hear some background noise?
No.
Well, it must be just me. I can hear that.
Oh, maybe some echo. Yeah, all the tech is ready for it to be the weekend, it looks like.
Oh, yeah.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm ready for it to be spring.
Oh, yeah, over here. Well, I guess you're in Delaware, Tom, so it's cold where you are as well.
Where are you located at?
Yeah, right now we're 46 degrees and sunny.
I'm in Washington, D.C., and it's
I'm 46 degrees right now.
In the mid-40s here as well, and I'm not okay with it.
It's 50.
What part of D.C.?
I'm in the northeast part by Catholic University.
Okay. I know where that is.
You know where that is.
Okay. Do you live that way? Oh, so obviously that's what you live near Capitol Hill. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm about a little over a mile from Capitol Hill.
My son played. Yeah, we took my son there when he was looking at colleges.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful campus.
Never even knew there was a Catholic university. Yeah, I didn't even know it existed.
I used to live in Howard County, so I was about 30 minutes north. I was 30 minutes north of you until I moved to Delaware.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's great.
One of our favorite duty stations was Fort Belvoir.
Oh, yeah.
And we lived there almost 5 years. That was my daughter's elementary school years.
Amy, where were you before you moved to D.C.?
So I've been in D.C. about 15 years. So I've been pretty fortunate. Have worked all at nonprofits on a variety of issues that I care about, ranging from, educational equity to health equity. But I'm originally from Nebraska, if you can believe it, from the prairie.
Nebraska?
Yeah. Way out.
So when you left Nebraska,
so I was always interested in. Sorry?
How was it living in Nebraska?
Windy.
I think it's myself. Windy.
It was a bit windy. It's your what did you say, Tom? Sorry, I interrupted you.
Well, I just said windy. I'm just getting so much better. I'll tell you what, I'm going to try one more time. I'll be right back.
Go ahead. This is something that these tech issues, like I said, that the great thing about the pandemic is that we've all been connected with tech, but then the other great thing is we've all had to deal with tech issues and being on mute and all of those things and being frozen. So I always like to play like a drinking game out of it. Every time you're on mute and you talk, like that adds to another shot you have to buy somebody at the bar later. So I guess both Tom and I have to buy you something, Katrina, since you had to deal with our tech issues.
No, well, you've had to deal with my dyskinesia. Tom says I'm brave. He thinks I'm brave because I'm not afraid to show my symptoms. You know,
yeah,
and it is part of the, my journey. I mean, it is part of Parkinson. And when I'm stressed or off or have too much dopamine, which is what's going on right now, my DBS is off, got too much dope going on. I just make a joke out of it. And I did ask, I muted a little while ago, but I forgot my daughter was doing online school. So she was live too.
Oh, gosh.
And so she's like, Mom, I'm live with my teacher. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry.
That's the thing. We're all like, our homes are like everything. I both myself and my roommate both work from home. So the Fox Foundation is headquartered in New York, and we do not have a DC office. So those of us who are on the policy team, so we have 3 teams that make up the policy department, and we have a federal team which focuses on Congress. Tom's having to do what I did, move to the phone. So weird. Yeah, mine wouldn't let me rejoin on my computer. It was strange. But yeah, we have a federal team that focuses on Congress and federal agencies, a state team that looks at state policies and the state legislatures, and then the best team, which is the advocacy team, which is just me, that gets to do fun stuff like this and talk to advocates like yourselves. So welcome back, Tom.
Do you have to give yourself a yearly review?
Yes, and I know that I am a difficult employee. I haven't been here a year yet, but in July, I'm kind of dreading it and looking forward to it so I can negotiate with myself.
When I've been retired now because of Parkinson's, but at the end of last year, I sort of gave myself a review. And it's like, what'd you do this year? Nothing. What do you plan on doing next year? Nothing. Congratulations. Here's a 3.2% pay raise.
That'll do. There you go. You're your own worst enemy and biggest fan all at the same time.
Absolutely.
Which part of Nebraska?
So I'm actually from, if you kind of know Nebraska, well, you might, because you were in Colorado Springs. So I was right in the cleft where Colorado and Wyoming are. I was about 45 minutes from Julesburg, Colorado, Katrina. So if you've heard of 2 cities in Nebraska, I'm sure it's Omaha and Lincoln, and I'm from neither of those. I'm from the way western part of the state, near the very, very not colorful part of Colorado, almost.
I know most people think Colorado is. Yeah, we are. I'm getting feedback when I talk.
Yeah, I can hear it here.
Let me. Let's see.
Seems like technical difficulties.
Yeah, they're contagious. Apparently, it started with me. I was patient 0, and now they're spreading.
You're the first victim, huh?
I am. I was patient 0. All of this. What happened?
So if I inject Clorox into my veins, will that cure me of this disease?
I mean, I'm on the policy team, not the medical or research team, so I can't legally advise you to do anything.
Okay, that's good. I made up a new calendar called BC and AC. It's before COVID and after COVID. Because it's like that life changed at that point. Well, I keep hearing an echo. Do you hear that?
I do not. No, I do not hear it.
Well, we think it looks like we lost Katrina. So I know you have a hard cutoff in minutes.
I do. I actually have to do an advocate training with about 6 advocates like we did, Tom. So
just to throw out there, the biggest thing someone who's listening should do is go to your website, look for PPMI, look for the trial finder, look for the Parkinson's Policy Network, and there was one. The clinical trials. I think there was one more thing. The smell test.
What I would do is go to our website, www.michaeljfox.org, and go to the Take Action section, and you can see other ways that you can take action around Parkinson's, whether it's advocating, taking part in a clinical study, participating in PPMI, but then also learning more about Parkinson's, how you can educate your community so we can just accomplish more and ultimately get an affordable and accessible cure.
That's perfect. Well, Katrina, she's got to run. Amy, thank you very much for doing this. It's greatly appreciated.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Say hi to Michael for me.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. I see him at the water cooler all the time. But
sounds good.
Thank you both so much. You have a great rest of the day, a great week.
Bye-bye.
Take care, Amy. Okay. And stream.
Yeah.
Or actually, we don't. We need to say goodbye.
Yeah, because I'm still hearing the feedback from you.
Is it?
Yeah.
I'm not hearing it as much anymore.
Well, it looks like we're having some technical issue, folks, and we've been on for about 50 some minutes, so this may be a good time. But just as a follow-up to what we were talking about, is advocacy is so important, because if we're not speaking up for ourselves, who will speak up for us?
Right.
And like she mentioned at the end, just go to Michael J. Fox, look for the advocacy section and how to get involved. And even it's just simply calling your congressperson every so often to say, Parkinson's, don't forget me. Everything we can do is going to make this journey of ours hopefully a little bit shorter.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, we will be back next Thursday, 2 o'clock.
Live from New York. I'm sorry, we're not quite in New York.
Or live from Appalachia and Delaware.
There you go. All right, well,
same bat time, same bat channel.
And based on our earlier conversation, I got a little homework to do, Katrina. So we'll talk again.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Good. Bye, everybody.